it means to be wise? Terry Scheid talked a little bit about being wise, but he didn't tell us what it was. What does it mean to be wise? Does it mean just being smart? Are wisdom and being smart the same? Being smart's part of it, and all of you are very smart. I know that because I've talked to each and every one of you, and you always stump me with something. Isn't it scary how smart they are? They're way smart, especially if you're the parent. Kathy's going, kids are so much smarter than we were when we were their age, and well, they're smarter than we are when we're our age too sometimes. But that's not the only thing that wisdom has to do with. Wisdom has to do with using your smarts, using the stuff that you're learning in school, using the stuff that you learn by being a kid, using the stuff that you learn by what your parents teach you and what your friends teach you and what you learn from people by interacting with them at school and when you play. Being wise means using all of those things to bless God. Wow, that's a pretty tall order, isn't it? So I know you're all very smart, but how wise are you? Are you wise? You are? Are you blessing God all the time? Oh, that's awesome. Are you wise? Yeah, you're smart enough to know that you're not, aren't you? Yeah, so wisdom is something that we grow in all of our lives. The Bible told us, in the Bible, Jesus told a story about two guys. One was wise and one was foolish. Do you remember what the foolish guy did? They were both building houses. And the foolish guy built his house on what? Sand. And the wise guy built his house on the rock. And there's a song about that. Do you remember the song? It goes like this. So pretend like this is the sand and this is a hammer. So we're building a house. Can you put Clifford down for a second? Sit him right here because you're going to need to build him a house, okay? So it goes like this. The foolish man built his house upon the sand. Sing with me. The foolish man built his house upon the sand. The foolish man built his house upon the sand. And guess what started happening? It started raining. The rains came tumbling down. So the rain came down and the floods came up. Do you know this song at all? So, and the rains came tumbling down. The rains came down and the floods came up. The rains came down and the floods came up. The rains came down and the floods came up. And the house on the sand went splat. You know why? Because you can't build anything on the sand. It won't stay there. It just moves all around. Like when you're at the beach and you stand in the sand and the water washes up around your feet, do you sink down in the sand a little bit? Yeah, that's what would happen if you built your... That happens to you every time you go to the water at the beach. So if you built your house on the sand and it started having water around it, what would happen? It would sink too, or it would go splat. So let's do that part. And the house on the sand went splat. Well, then there was the wise man. So let's do this for a rock, and this for the wise man building on the rock. The wise man built his house upon the rock. The wise man built his house upon the rock. The wise man built his house upon the rock, and the rains came tumbling down. The rains came down and the floods came up. The rains came down and the floods came up. The rains came down and the floods came up. And the house on the rock, guess what happened? It stood firm because the rock didn't move when it rained, did it? And the house on the rock stood firm. So, if you're building your house, are you going to want to build it on sand or the rock? Yeah, because when the rain comes, you'll be washed away if you build on the sand. Well, is this really about building houses, this scripture? It's really about building our lives. Yeah. It's really about building our lives. And if we build our lives on things of this world, things that are not truthful, is that like building on the sand or building on the rock? That's like building on the sand. Because if you build on something that's not very smart, you go splat. But guess who the rock is? Jesus is the rock. And so if you build your life on Jesus, what's going to happen to your life? Is it going to stand firm or is it going to go flat? It's going to stand firm. So I want you to know that it's always wise to let Jesus be your foundation, to build your life on him. So that means everything that you do it for Jesus. That's just easy, isn't it? Everything that you do it for Jesus. Think about him all the time. Okay? All right, let's think about him right now while we say our prayers. You repeat after me. Dear God, we love you. Thank you for Jesus. He's our rock. And he is our foundation. Help us to be wise and build our lives